There's also why it's flat. Flat earthers. Closet flat earth my whole life. Coming out now. The world is flat. And this mild little world in the book is flat. All right. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Tucker.
I'm Clark.
Two of the five main loons here to talk about this book. It's my most recent book published today called Built on Faith. It is, it's a science fantasy book that is an actual genre. I think a good way to describe it is fantasy cosplaying as sci-fi. And I don't know. Let's see, the name's pretty simple. The name is pretty explanatory. It's a book about that's about faith, really. Um, but it's not really. I don't think it's like a religious book or a Christian book per se. But it just talks about. It discusses faith, the need for faith, through three characters primarily. That's Tien Che, Gadianton, and Tien Come. That was it. I want you to read back, actually.
Great idea.
Read the back. That's way better. Okay. So, every night, the champion corps descends with God below the world to fight Tiamat, the goddess of chaos. The Watchman Corps defends the city on the world's surface in God's absence. After a coup against God is successful, three men are left to navigate the aftermath. One man loses his faith and falls to the seductions of evil. One man who never had faith in any God except himself, and another who fights for his faith to the bitter end.
It's an awesome book, actually. It's like when we were trying to do the editing process for the book, we've all been just like geeking out at home, like for days on end about this book.
This is right.
You should be very excited to read it.
Okay.
I believe this is something of an interview we're supposed to be doing here.
I guess
Now
so.
the introduction's done,
Yeah.
So now that I got the author here for his first debut of his first solo book he's done. He helped me out write The Wolf before, but now this is his first a little bit. But he did help. You're on the book. Now this one's just you. So now we get to ask you a bunch of questions. So it's a great place to start. Yeah, great place to start would be just what inspired this book? I mean, I remember I agree completely with your saying of like it's like fantasy cosplaying as sci-fi. I say it's like epic fantasy cosplaying as sci-fi. This thing, the scale is so up there. Like the science and magic wool together so
It's
well.
only one planet, so it's not that big of a scale.
Well, the scale of intensity is really high. And so just like where's this crazy idea come from? How did it start? All that jazz.
Well, it first started where I had this idea of people in big robot suits fighting monsters, and the robot suits were technology powered by some sort of magical energy. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And that was it. I didn't have anything real story in there for it. And so those like thoughts, like those images could come to mind every now and then. Oh, that's a neat image. But then it was one day I heard a reading of an excerpt from Nietzsche, and it was the part. It's like the phrase "God is dead" comes this excerpt, and I heard the excerpt, and I realized that that phrase had been taken wildly out of context. The word "God is dead." It's not actually. Uh, it's not actually a statement of solidarity with atheism. It's actually a dire warning to all the human race about the consequences of getting rid of God too quickly. And so I heard that, and then I don't know, just all of a sudden it was just kind of like this story structure came into
That
my
was
head.
like the mind blowing moment.
Well, kind of. It sounded like a mind blown. It was more like the Kool Aid Man, like what is instead of the Kool Aid Man, it was like a basic story structure. It was like, hey, the hair just burst out of
Never
my.
described it as Kool-Aid.
I was like,
Talking about, but like
just kinda- I was like,
You don't know the Kool-Aid Man?
I know the Kool-Aid
oh,
Man.
I thought
I know what you're talking about. I know the Kool-Aid Man. I know that moment. I've had that moment too. It's kind of like boom, it all comes
yeah,
together. But like,
instead, and so yeah. So instead of like from the inside of my brain, there was this like ruptures exploded, blew my world. It's like from the outside, something like smashed in. It was like, so,
handed
and
you a
so
copy.
and so yeah. So then I was like, so I didn't have all the due, but I was like, wow. But other thoughts, so I thought I should write that down. So I did write it down. And then when I started writing it down, I didn't write down. I actually didn't write down the structure. I was like, yeah, well, I did actually. I wrote like 5 bullet points. So, and then I was, I got this. So I sat down to write it, and I had like a Tolkien moment. Like as I was writing it, like the story just happened. And I wrote it down as it appeared to me. So like almost completely. I wrote one draft, and I had a few people read it, and it was my dad actually gave me a suggestion that did inspire a pretty significant change. I thought it was a good one,
Mhm.
and so I'm glad I did it. So shout out to Dad for that idea.
I admit I was rather worthless during this editing process. Aside from like grammatical errors, I was just like, this is amazing. Publish it, and then everyone else is like, you should add this or this. And I'm like, why? It's perfect. Then he adds it. I'm like, that's even better. I was
That's
So
true. I don't know how well I'll be able to be heard out here, but I'm behind the camera. I'm over here. But I did want to point out something that you had said earlier that this wasn't a particular religious book or a Christian book.
right,
Yeah, and that's true. I think someone could read it more like a Greek mythology story or
but yes,
a mythology type of story. But it also, for those who are looking at religious faith or looking it through the lens of Christianity, they can find that in there too.
yeah. Well, that's because I am Christian. Growing up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I I happen to love Jesus Christ very much, and yeah, like the reason I found that Nietzsche quote was because I was kind of like a little frustrated with the current state of my country and the world, and I was watching some YouTube videos, and that one happened to pop up. Um, but yes, so yes, like you can like there's that you can find religion in there but that's because Christian like my Christian faith growing up was an inspiration for it. Definitely, definitely with the whole like I don't know
because you
the whole idea of like like God as a king and anyway with like I guess they're like so that's like the story of it. There are four main like inspirations for it. Most of which I never did is to like finish the book and look back at it. One is my Christian upbringing. The other one is, like I said, Nietzsche. The other one is Warhammer 40k. Warhammer 40k have more like an aesthetic aspect, like the aesthetics. If you read it,
it
like
feels very Warhammer 40k
feels
ish.
Warhammer 40k ish, which is interesting because I don't actually like Warhammer. I like I have some serious problems with Warhammer 40k as a franchise. What's the fourth one? Oh yeah, yeah. It was the Mesopotamian creation myth. Yes, which is why you can also read like mythology because I took inspiration from the ancient Mesopotamian mythology, which is also why the world is flat. It's for you flat earthers. I was a closet flat earth my whole life. Coming out now. The world is flat. And this mild little world in the book is flat.
Is that talking of the mythology? Is that also why the god of chaos on the bottom of the world is named Tiamat?
Yes, Tiamat is the name of the great dragon of chaos in the ancient Mesopotamian creation myth. And so I took a name or two out of that myth And I just like heard the myth and I was like, you know what? What if this was like kind of the way it was? And so then we went with flat Earth.
It's weird with flat Earth.
Yep, with a big dome over the top
Mhm. As you can see from the
with
book.
a cover image. It's flat Earth, the dome over the top.
And a dragon underneath.
Yes,
And
one you
right.
can read the book to get more details than that. But
Of course, of course.
Mhm.
No,
So
no.
while you were reading it, what inspired you, Clark?
What inspired
Yes,
me
what
about
did you get out of it?
this thing? I mean, kind of.
It's like The Hobbit, where you're like, I like it, I don't know why.
One thing, like, like I'll say this. Okay, so what I'm not sure how if it's what I got out of it because I did get something out of it, but it's a little hard to describe. And
Okay.
thinking on the spot is a little hard. It's like the one that I really want to say. I don't know how to say it. But one thing I did really like about it was it's a seriously intense book. And I'll say this is like while I was trying to read it, there's as part of the editing process to help with it. Then I found out it was the book is actually short enough, and like it looks kind of thick there, but the print is pretty big. So like the print is pretty big. It's a pretty short book in general. So you could end up reading it in a day. I actually had to take 3 days to read it because I just couldn't I couldn't keep up with it. I had to give myself time to process everything that was going on because it's some pretty heavy stuff goes on, and a lot of heavy stuff
A
keeps
lot
happening.
of symbolic stuff
Yeah,
that you really have to
you have to really think of it. You have to really let it process.
process.
That little like symbolism, the faith, the mythology is in it from beginning to end. It is so deeply ingrained in it that it's just exciting to see what next is gonna crazy thing happen. And
That's
how
crazy.
everything ties back into the end is pretty cool.
It's crazy. The whole time writing it down, like, this is so weird.
I
Who's
know.
even going to read? This is so weird. But
That
there it
was
is.
yeah.
So we'll see who reads it.
You better.
All right.
One thing, because I'll say something. That
Go ahead.
one thing for me that when I was reading it, it kind of put into a whole different mind view of the concept of the opposition in all things,
Hmm.
the need for the darkness in order to understand the light, the need for the evil to truly love the good, you know, to be able to feel and experience that, which was somewhat enlightening.
The
All
book,
right. We're done now. That's all we need.
the book does go through some pretty extreme highs and lows throughout it. Like, honestly, I'm
Yeah,
thinking it really only does extremes. You're up there, then you're down here, and then it ends like even higher. And you're just like,
well,
oh,
it starts in
what a
a
roller.
very mellow middle.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
It's quite a roller coaster.
the first page is a pretty mellow middle when he's.
It's a first page. You can't judge anything by the first page.
They're at public school. So,
Yeah,
you know,
Judging public schools by the
it's
first
public
page?
school.
yeah, they're at
Yeah.
the public school, the first page. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't know it's public school in the first page. But anyway, they're at public school.
Okay. Okay. So we talked a good bit so far about like kind of the broad picture of things, kind of from a higher perspective. Let's try to narrow it down a little bit. The book itself mentions three particular characters. So I'll just go for a brief minute. Let's go through a little quick rundown of them from you.
From me.
Yeah, so quick description of each one
All right.
for our viewers at home.
TNG is the kind of the what we call the
No,
two
not that
himself.
quick.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the main character, the one that we get with the most perspective of, his name is he's Chief General Tianchi. He is like pretty. So like in this book, then the armed forces are divided into two branches. They only need two branches. It's flat Earth, where they have there's the champion corps, which is directly led by God Himself, and then there's the Watchman Corps, which is led by Tianchi. So Tianchi is like he's like second in command from military's perspective. It's a pretty big deal. Tianchi is a very powerful person, extremely powerful person, and he how to talk about this without giving too much away. He goes through. He's one of the three characters. They all have their crises of faith in the book. All three of them do, and I don't know. Should I say
We'll just go with the next one.
which one they all? Anyway, so Tianchi, Chief General, Watchman Corps. Then there's Gadianton, where was he's the most. There's the Champion Corps that goes down with God. He is the most powerful of the Champion Corps. He's also a very brilliant and well decorated scientist. And Gadianton, he he's very caught up with himself
He's a brilliant.
Science.
and science. He
He's a
loves
very
science.
brilliant
He loves
scientist.
himself, despite being the most powerful of the champions. Um, and he like ends up like he builds himself his own special battle armor that he just lives in all the time. He like custom everything about his world. He customizes to meet his own scale and his own standards because he just doesn't want to leave his own battle suit.
It's a unique brand of egotism, actually. I built this suit. I'm gonna live in it.
Yeah. And then there's Tiancum, and he was so Tianche is the chief general of the Watchman Corps. Tiancum was a major in the Watchman Corps, so he worked under Tianche as a very high-ranking officer, and he's just a fantastic person.
Just a cool guy.
So yeah, um, well yeah, picked some parts in the book for each character that I thought might be a good introduction as well as to the characters and to the book a little bit.
Great idea.
So I'll read the first little excerpt here for Chief General Tianchi. This is his little blurb. All right. Status, Major, said Tianchi. I'm fine myself, Chief General, but Captain Delilah is currently alone in Quadrant 6, replied Tiancum. Tianchi needed no more information. The location of any watchman could be revealed to him instantaneously. Another gift from God. Chief General Tianchi immediately made his way to her. Delilah was a young knight, recently recruited. Tianchi found her furiously fighting back a demon with a forest of pincers nearby. The young woman's attacks drew the demon's attention away from a battle group of chariots on a reinforcement assignment. She was cutting and slashing furiously in all directions. Each stroke was a withering blow, yet she was still only just holding her own against such a relentless foe. Tianchi pointed his spear at the behemoth creature of darkness the young knight was fighting. Brilliant, multicolored energy gathered to the point of his spear. As the colors gathered, the light became almost white. Within a few seconds, an orb the size of a human head had formed at the tip of Tianchi's spear. He released the orb with a resounding blast of noise and energy, sending an attack that had never failed to destroy its target, hurtling toward the demon, which was trying mindlessly to kill Tianchi's newest recruit. Just as Tianchi released the attack, he saw the great city ship come into view behind the young watchman. He also saw her head turn towards the city ship. Delilah, look! Screamed Tianchi, but his words were too late. The moment she looked away, a pincer pierced her abdomen. She clenched her teeth and cut the pincer off, then was struck by another, and another. Immediately, Tianchi sped towards her as fast as he could. She continued to cut wildly as more and more pincers stabbed through her. However, her cutting lost speed, force, and control. By the time Tianchi's blast arrived and blew the monster into ashes, Delilah had stopped fighting, and her body had so many wounds in it it was barely held together. Jinchi carried the body to the closest light gun station, laid her on the highest platform, and summoned his personal chariot. The dome reappeared as suddenly as it disappeared. The demon hordes were driven back against the light they could not penetrate, leaving the tired Watchman Corps to tend their wounded, number their dead, and repair their chariots for the next night's onslaught. As the battle ended, Chief General Tianche looked back towards the huge city ship, which the demons were never near. Looking at the ship, his brows suddenly furrowed. His chariot arrived shortly. Upon seeing their mutilated comrade, the crew's mood became somber, and they began preparing the body to be transported to the daily funeral ceremony, gingerly lifting her remains onto a thick cloth with the Watchman Corps symbol in gold produced from the chariot. As the fabric cover was left of Captain Delilah, Major Tiancum alighted next to Chief General Tianche. I'm so sorry. Is everything all right, Chief General? Came Tiancum's voice. Tianche stared at him for a moment, then responded with a flat, I'm fine, and flew away.
Ooh,
So,
chills. Good book.
good. Glad to hear it.
Before I move on to the next one, let's
Oh,
talk for a
yes.
moment.
Well, I know. I'm just getting ready.
I see.
All right. Well, that was Chief, the little excerpt with featuring Chief General Tianche. A bit about him and his job, and it's like a short. Is that a pivotal moment? I don't know if it's pivotal,
I
but
think
it's
it's rather important.
Well, yeah,
It's important. I don't know if it's pivotal. It's important.
It's a rather pivotal moment.
I think it was pivotal to the
was-
way.
Yeah, at the very least, we can all agree it was very important to a pivotal moment.
It's very important. Anyway,
It's fun to also see the kind of you're talking about, fantasy cosplaying as
Yep.
science fiction. Like you got they've got their like flying crafts, they have their superpower armor, but at the same time you also have like magic's energy spearbolt,
yep. I just wrote it as it came to me, guys. All right.
and it's awesome. Also, we got to get a good little thing of was it Tiancum?
Which one?
The
Tiancum is in it.
Yeah,
It's
he
about
comes in the
Tianche.
ending of the scene.
Yeah, it's at the end of the scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiancum's in it.
Yeah, it's good to see we got a little moment to talk to
Yeah.
mention him too.
But yeah, that's yeah.
He doesn't get a lot of screen time, but
He gets more later.
yeah.
But yes. I picked that section because I thought it was an important moment. I thought it'd be good. Gonna give a taste for TNJ. And while I was reading, I was thinking, oh man, these poor listeners have no context for any of this stuff. This is so weird.
Read the book for the context.
So, kind of like Asher watching Dune Part 2, having not watched Part 1. Yeah.
That was interesting to hear about.
Yes. All right. Let's read a little bit about Gaddy Anton. This will be a much shorter section.
I wonder which section you picked for this one.
Oh, no. Sorry. That's the wrong section. This is the section. Here we go. This is the one. Give you a little taste of Gaddy Anton. Lord Gaddy Anton stood on his damaged fortress. His pale face and features set straight ahead made him look kinglier than ever before. As soon as Lord Gaddy Anton arrived at the Palace of Enlightenment, he began screaming orders. Get all surviving chariots repaired an hour ago! Where is my master of logistics? What is the current state of the Dome of Might? Recharge your armor now! My lord, interjected Gaddy Anton's first guardsman, you need rest. Allow some of your captains to begin preparations while he was cut short as Gaddy smashed him with the back of his battle armor gauntlet, sending him soaring over the edge of the branch the two had landed on. Never tell me what I need to do! I know better than anyone what needs to be done! Lord Gaddy screamed at the falling man. He continued storming towards the gateway into the palace. Where is Chief General Tianche? If I don't see him within half an hour, I'll kill him myself! So that is a taste for Gaddy Anton.
It was a good piece.
It's a rather bitter man.
It was short, but that gave a good description. Now you know Gaddy Anton pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I like to talk more. There's not much more to say. I already know he's the best in the people that go down to the bottom of the world. He's got his super awesome battle armor, and he's very intelligent. And now we know he's also incredibly full of himself. One of the most egotistical men you will ever know in fiction, and just a real bully apparently.
He is.
Yeah.
He's a jerk. He's a real jerk. All right. But The next guy is Tiancum. And Tiancum is not a jerk. Tiancum is pretty much all around decent human being.
I love those people.
So, how long is this anyway? Let me just double check.
That'll be best.
I'll skip some. Yeah. All right. Where did it end? Okay. We will skip. Okay.
There's so much good stuff in
Here
there.
we
I'm
go.
trying to figure which was just a little bit.
Lieutenant Tianko ran between the cannon posts under his command. 3 in total. Energy cannon batteries he was stationed. No, sorry. The energy cannon battery he was stationed on was on its front line rotation. On one side of Tianko was a constant blur of motion and noise. Orders being given, orders being carried out, and orders being ordered to be undone. Soldiers and machinery moving in every direction. Running along the edge of the energy cannon battery was like moving along the surface of an anthill that had been kicked. On the other hand was a sea of nightmares. Monsters of every shape and size came roaring, screeching, howling, and making any other unnatural sound. The constant thunder of cannons and blaze of rockets tore into the inexhaustible horde. A great claw tore away a section of the energy cannon battery just above Tianko's head. He ducked instinctively, but kept his pace amid the shower of metal. He had been demoted for his unyielding faith in God, but was too competent to not maintain a combat leadership role. His courage and coolness, even while staring mind-bending horrors in the face, were an inspiration to the newer recruits and an anchor to the veterans. He arrived at one of his cannon stations and began assisting with the restocking of ammunition, when something strange occurred. A lull in the monster's assault, and the sound of ship cannons drew his attention away from the rearmament effort. The fleet of the champions was coming home. It is early for them to be back, Tiankin thought to himself. Something is not right, Tiankin said out loud to a soldier next to him, who was also staring at the returning fleet. It is too early. Look at their formation. It is practically non-existent. Okay, let's skip a little bit. Okay.
Don't give too many secrets.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. Lord Gadianton and his personal unit were the last to pass through, fighting back the constant press of chaos the whole way, just as the energy cannon batteries were closing the gap to what looked like a single demon shot through the dome of night. It was small and fast, with wings like smoke. The demon easily deflected the several volleys fired at it. Tinkham stared in stunned surprise till he heard the order to avert fire from the monster. It was Chief General Tianche. Panic turned to shock in Tinkham's heart. As he ran to answer a distress call from one of his gun stations and called out for details on the situation, he remembered his old commander. What must have happened to turn him into that? Wondered Tiankin, and for a moment he felt cold all over.
So, hearing that, like, I know what he turns into.
You don't. You got to read the book.
You should.
Yes, you should. It'd be good for you. Anyway, so there. Those are 3 excerpts. So you get a little taste of the book and a taste of the main characters. So that's what they're like. We got Tianxie, very competent fighter, doing his best, gets distracted. Getty Anton, just a jerk. And then there's Tiankum, who's all around great guy that just people follow.
A good little collection of different perspectives in there. Now that we've gotten into more controlling into the closer aspects of it, it's broadened out just a little bit, not too much. Like I know, like faith is a very prominent theme in this book. Probably
That's what it's about.
pretty much the entire book is about the concept of faith.
That's what it's about, yeah.
What do you say would be other themes as well in there? What else is there?
Other themes in the book. Well,
What's it about?
what's it?
Besides faith.
Besides faith. Other themes. Well, let's see. There's also lots about power and the sources that we get our power from. Like on one hand, there's getting power from God versus trying to make your own power.
And we should explain God now that you're here.
I should.
But we haven't mentioned it yet.
Well, I
don't want to explain too much.
He was in the God is real. Okay, that part I did make up for the book, like the flat earther thing. That part I made up in the book. But God is real. But in this book, he's like, where he lives in the city and he leads everybody as the king.
Right.
And yeah, his light is literally everywhere. I made it like all this, anyway, all the normally the things that are more metaphysical to us, I portrayed them like completely tangible in this book. So yes, so there's getting power from God versus getting it from trying to make it yourself. There's getting power from like demons get power from Tiamat. There's lots about where your power comes from. Also, like safety/protection is a big one throughout the book, where like God keeps people safe. The Watchmen Corps keep people safe. Like there's certain like I did actually put people in power armor, powered with and magic,
I
powered by
was about
magic.
to say.
So yes, you're very safe in that, which is probably why Gadianton stays in his personal suit.
It's a safety thing.
It goes with the safety/protection and where you get your power from theme. It comes into that. Yeah, and it's all done with lots of dichotomies. Everything is like super like there's no gray area in this book. It's always split right down the middle of where you're getting your power from, what you have faith in, your like protection, where that comes from.
Let's get a little more detail on that. The power thing. Kind of curious now that we're
Okay.
here. You say that like there's different like people gain their power from different sources.
Oh yes, for sure.
So like, I want to play a little more. Just like is the power manifest differently depending on the source?
Well, yes,
Well, yes.
since you're getting a different source, and it by nature is a different type of power. Like it's the nature of the power is different, so it therefore manifests differently.
Yeah. When the city is operating with the power of God, it's beautiful
It's very
and
yes,
light. When it's operating on the power of
science,
science, then it's dingy and
dangerous.
dangerous.
They definitely manifest in very different ways.
Yeah.
Like the very
Then, of course, the evil
the
power
differences
of
in the
Tiamat
quality of the light.
Oh yeah.
is death. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like also we read some bits of the demons and their undescribably horrendously evil appear. That's a pretty
Yes.
good different manifestation of the powers of Tiamat there.
Which one of my favorite parts in the book was including things of like where like if something is bad, then it's like then it's somehow ugly.
Mhm.
But if it's good, then it's somehow beautiful and clean.
Mhm. Yeah, lots of symbolism in that way throughout the book. That is very fascinating
Yeah.
and keeps the story very
Yes. Just
interesting.
beauty and like it, because they all have some kind. Anyway, again, like different kinds of power, but like beauty and like light are inextricably connected in this book.
Hmm. Like we also mentioned a brief moment here that with the that when the city is under control of science, that it was dingy and dangerous.
Oh yes.
It goes back to saying that the safety and protection. Let's talk a bit about that. Like what does the book do with its concepts of safety and protection and danger?
Well, um, it really like there's only one way that people were safe actually,
Mhm.
pretty much. Like safety and protection ties back to the where you're getting your power from, what you have your faith in, and then where you get your power from comes from your faith in, and then that you get that much protection based on that thing that you put your faith in to get power from. And so then your level of safety goes up and down, depending.
Depending on how much faith you put into that
Well, no,
source of
depending
protection.
on what protection you put your faith in.
Ah,
Like people put there's multiple different things that can put their faith in this book.
there's options.
Yes, there's options. This book gives the people in it options of what to put their faith in.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on what they put their faith in, they get power from that. And that power is used to protect them from what's going on around them. And so you get the level of protection based on how powerful the thing you put your faith in is.
What kind of world do you want? Think everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're winding down close to the end of this. And so why don't we go to the big kahuna of the themings here and faith.
Faith.
Faith itself. How is faith portrayed and used in this? We know it's one of the most important themes of the story. And so, how so?
Well, again, I would say the story is about faith.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just a theme. This is what the story is about. And there are other themes in it that help to move the story and to teach. But it's a story about faith. And it's about how faith is not only necessary, but it's inescapable. That you're going to have faith. Everybody's going to have faith in something. And then what you have faith in, you get power from it. It's more metaphysical in actuality, but still real. And so everybody is going to have faith in something. You're going to have some kind of, religious option that you pick from. And that is going to be something that you use when you see the world around you. It's going to become a part of yourself and your everyday life. And this book is pointing out that, you have to build your life on faith, but also pointing out that if you build your life based on faith, that anything other than God is not going to work out for you.
Nice.
So it could be a literal, Jesus Christ, which I do believe in personally, but it could also just generally be the idea there is a objective truth, and you have to follow objective truth.
Yeah, all good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right.
We mentioned also, we mentioned also before. You've mentioned yourself here that you really enjoyed writing that the concept of good things being beautiful and bad things being ugly, which right there is a great little symbolism right there.
Good. Our world is built on faith. That part, even though our world's not flat, it's built on faith. And so, yeah, this book, I don't know, like I said, came to me, so I wrote it down, and
Now we can
it's
read
good,
it.
and it's good. So, read it.
Yeah, and you can get it on Amazon, or you can message us either through our Facebook page or our Instagram page, and you can purchase it
Yes.
directly through us.
Yes.
Plenty of ways to get it.
Purchase it directly through us, through Facebook or Instagram, direct message us, or you can buy it on Amazon. If you buy it on Amazon, please leave a good review.
Even if you buy it from us, leave a review on our Facebook page or on our Instagram.
Honestly, I'll be bold enough to say just leave an honest review because it's going to be a good review.
That's true. You're gonna love it.
I really doubt anyone isn't going to love this book.
Unless
It's
they just hate the
fantastic.
concept of faith.
Yeah, unless you just hate the concept of faith in general, then of course. But most people don't.
Anyway, yes. And from a week after this video goes up, if anybody can accurately guess the correct spelling of the name Tianche, you get a free book. Good luck to you.
It's pretty tricky.
Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yes.
Buy the book. Hope you like it. Bye.
Yeah.